there. The Firstpost, the liquid, chemical disposal.
What goes around comes around. It's a simple rule of life. Turns out it also applies to geopolitics. Just ask Pakistan. They have carried out cross-border airstrikes on Afghanistan. And the targets? Terror hideouts. It must be a strange feeling for Pakistan. They're used to sponsoring terrorists, but now they claim to be eliminating them. The attack happened on Tuesday night. Pakistan used jets and drones to bomb Afghanistan's Barmal district. It's located near the border, right next to the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Pakistan has not officially claimed the attack yet, but their military is dropping hints. Some officials have said the target was the TTP, the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, also known as the Pakistan Taliban, the TTP. On paper, this group is different from Afghanistan's Taliban, but they do share some similarities, like the same Pashtun core, the same Islamic ideology, and the same use of terror tactics. The TTP's goal is to overthrow the regime in Islamabad. They want an Islamic emirate in Pakistan. But Pakistan says Kabul is shielding the TTP, although Kabul says this is your internal matter. They have called the latest attack cowardly. They've also promised to hit back. The Afghans, they promised to hit back. And casualties? Again, two different versions. Pakistani sources say that 20 TTP terrorists were killed in these strikes. But Kabul says 46 people have died, most of them women and children. And here's the interesting part. Hours before this attack, there was a meeting in Kabul. Pakistan's Afghan envoy met the Taliban's foreign minister. Immediately after that, Islamabad attacked. So clearly, Pakistan is trying to send a message. We are asking you nicely, but if you refuse, we have other means. The question is, will the aggression work? It hasn't in the past. Pakistan launched a similar attack in March this year, the exact same template. Pakistan said terrorists were killed, but Kabul said 8 civilians died. Despite that, terror attacks have not subsided. Just look at the numbers. Pakistan logged more than 850 terrorist attacks this year. That's up from 650 last year. Put together, these incidents have claimed more than 1,000 lives. Last month, the month of November, was among the worst. Nearly 250 people were killed in a single month. Among them were 68 security personnel. These numbers make one thing quite clear. Pakistan has not been able to contain the TTP threat. Just last week, there was an attack. TTP terrorists targeted a military checkpost in South Waziristan. They killed 16 Pakistani soldiers. Chances are that attack is what triggered this response. But where do things go from here? Kabul may have promised to hit back, but it's unlikely that they will. Instead, they could offer more support to the TTP, more weapons, more hideouts, and more political support. So the direct response may come from the TTP, not the Afghan Taliban. Meanwhile, expect Pakistan to take a dual approach, strikes on one hand, diplomacy on the other. Islamabad has been trying to rally support against the TTP. They have complained multiple times at the United Nations. The most recent was last week. Listen in.
The TTP is fast emerging as an umbrella organization for other terrorist groups in the area, with clear objectives of destabilizing Afghanistan's neighbors. We have evidence of its collaboration with other terrorist groups like the Majid Brigade that is utilizing terrorism to disrupt Pakistan's economic cooperation with China, especially CPEC. Given its long association with Al-Qaeda, the TTP could emerge as Al-Qaeda's arm with a regional and global terrorist agenda.
So to recap, your neighbor is harboring and supporting terrorists. Those terrorists are attacking you. You are complaining to the world, but nobody is listening to you. Where have we heard this before? This is exactly what Pakistan does to India, except now Afghanistan is doing it to Pakistan. Islamabad may try to rally support against the TTP, but frankly, it is a long shot. You see, there are multiple terror groups in Afghanistan. Among them are Al-Qaeda and the TTP. The world is more concerned about the former, about Al-Qaeda. So all the Taliban has to do is promise to crack down on Al-Qaeda. They will face no pressure on the TTP. And I know it sounds like karma, but it's also poor strategic thinking by Pakistan. They cultivated the Taliban for decades and they applauded the fall of Kabul in 2021. Do you know why? Because Pakistan thought that the Taliban would help them to settle the border, to crack down on the TTP and to take on India. Unfortunately for them, none of this has happened. The Taliban have refused to settle the border. They're openly harboring the TTP and they're eager to befriend India. Pakistan only has itself to blame for the situation. They used terrorists to bleed Afghanistan and India. Those same terrorists have now turned against them. It's a lesson to all countries around the world. Terrorists and extremists can never be allies or proxies. In the end, they will harm you too.